Hi, I'm Mike Richter, and today is part 2 of my 4-part series on the wealth principles of winners, inspired by this book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T Harv Eker. So let's get started. In this portion of the series, we're going to be talking about 4 things, and these 4 are: rich people tend to admire other rich people, whereas poor people tend to resent them. Once again, for those that didn't see the first part of this series, I'm doing very broad generalizations of rich and poor for the sake of comparison, not for the sake of idolizing one group or denigrating the other group. It's just so that you can benefit from some general trends that exist to help you in life. And the second thing we'll be talking about is rich people associating with people that are positive, successful, and growing, whereas poor people tend to hang out with negative nancies that bring each other down, and if somebody is looking to climb up out of that negativity, they're quick to pull them down. The third thing we'll be talking about is rich people tend to be willing to promote things of value, and they're willing to promote themselves if they know for sure that they're bringing certain value to the marketplace or to society or something like that, whereas people that are in the poor middle class tend to think negatively of people who are promoting themselves or their ideas, even though we know that in the world of business, sports, politics, anything where there's very distinct leaders and followers, leaders are there promoting not only themselves but their ideas and getting people to follow them. So that's a big difference between people in the upper class and people in the middle and lower classes. And the fourth thing we'll be talking about is that rich people tend to be bigger than their problems, or if their problems are bigger than they are at the time, they work towards growing themselves to be bigger than their problems, so that when they come up against a similar problem, they've outgrown it and it becomes easier for them. Kind of like working out your muscles. If you've been lifting 50-pound weights for 20 reps and you pick up 20-pound weights, 20-pound weights are going to be way easier for you than they would be, say, when you were struggling with 10-pound weights, for example. So let's get started. So a lot of people either love the rich or hate the rich or have really nuanced opinions about it, but people that are successful and wealthy tend to admire other people that are also successful and wealthy. And the reason why is most people who are wealthy nowadays are first-generation wealth builders. Sure, there are some people with inherited wealth and things like that, but by and large, most of the millionaires in the world now are those who have either built a business or have created value through investment to achieve something great. And people that want to be successful and people that are successful can see great value and achievement that other people have created, and they can see, hey, what are the special things that they've done that I can incorporate in my life so that I can do things better in my life, as opposed to just kind of looking at them and envying them for their money. Now, there's a big deal where sometimes people look at the rich and say, oh, well, they just got lucky, right? Most of the time, first generation wealthy make their own luck by working or creating something great. So on the flip side of that, there's a lot of people that are in the lower and the middle classes where they win the lottery and it doesn't help them to stay out of poverty. It doesn't help them to stay out of the grind because they do not have the capacity yet to control that kind of wealth. Because with more money comes more responsibility. So that's something also to think about in this whole thing. So something that you might want to do is create a list of the things that you desire to create, achieve, and have. And obviously this doesn't have to be physical things. Like something that I desire to create is a better relationship with my kids. In fact, earlier today, my son and I went out to play miniature golf, and we went to McDonald's afterward to have a couple of Oreo McFlurries because I desire to create a better relationship with my son, so I invest in that. Now, this list of things that you desire to create, achieve, and have, you can leave it as a plain list, or you can turn it into something visual and physical and place it up on the wall. That's actually something that I'm going to be looking to do sometime in the near future, is I'm going to create a collage and put it up on my office wall so that I can constantly be reminded of the things that I work so hard for. And another thing that my family does is there's this one house in our city that we drive by whenever we're showing somebody around the city. And this one house is something that I would love for my family to be able to move into it one day. And that's something interesting that we share with a lot of the visitors that come to visit us from out of town. So by all means, find something that motivates you to do things and create things of value so that you can have that motivation to do good things. And also, take a look at people that have created or achieved great things and find the little lessons that you can from their life to see what you can incorporate in your own. So now that we've talked about whether the rich ought to be admired or hated, let's talk a little bit about associations, right? People that are wealthy tend to associate with other wealthy, successful, positive, growing people, right? They're committed to growth. They're committed to having a positive mental attitude. They're committed to good things. And they all tend to add to the relationship. Whereas people in the lower classes tend to find people that are beneath them so they can feel better than them. Or they belong to a group that is all roughly the same social standing. And when somebody starts rising above them, they come together to try to bring them down from that instead of encouraging them to get out of poverty. And you see that in a few of the communities around the United States and around the world, where members of that community kind of lash out at people that are looking to leave their humble roots. Let's see. Positive people tend to give energy to their friendships, whereas negative people tend to take energy away from their friendships. So think about that when you are looking to befriend someone. Do you feel like you're a better person because you're with them? Or do you feel like it's a struggle to continue that relationship? And if that's the case, then you might want to consider distancing yourself from that so that you're not negatively affected by their negativity. Now, maybe you don't know where to find people that are positive and looking to create change in their lives. Well, maybe you want to join a club of some sort. Maybe a professional organization would be a good place to go to meet positive people that are looking for growth. Maybe you're going to join a country club if you want to find and network with people that are positive and growing and have a degree of net worth already. Or you might want to go reach out to people that are slightly outside of your sphere of influence and see if you can learn something from people. And usually when you are learning from somebody, you can generate a relationship that can turn into friendship. So those are the kinds of things that you want to think about when you're looking at your associations. There's this story out there that goes something like this. Your income within 5 years typically is the average of your 5 closest friends. So think about that for a little bit. Look at your 5 closest associations and determine if that makes sense for you. Obviously, you're not going to decide who your friends are strictly based on income or net worth or anything like that. That would be really shallow. But it's interesting to see the kinds of people that are generating high returns and high net worth. So you might want to take a look at that and see what kind of trends that can bring into your life. Now, are you a positive or a negative person? I try to be really positive for people in my inner circle so that I can help them find win-win situations, and usually it's a great thing for everybody. You might also be a negative Nancy. So you might want to take a look at yourself and determine what are some of those internal motivations that are driving that negativity, and how can you get rid of that from your life if possible. It may be one of those things where you need to find a new circle of friends, or maybe you've got some emotional issues associated with something traumatic that happened in your past. Maybe you need to reconcile those kinds of things. Or maybe it's just a matter that you just don't know any better, and you might be looking for some way to just grow. If you're watching this video for any length of time, chances are you're watching it because you want to grow and develop yourself, and you want to be a better person, or you want to find ways to grow your wealth. That's fine. That's a great thing that you're looking for these things to grow yourself. If you're looking for another resource, down in the description below, I'm going to have a link to a free PDF with a list of 60 of the best books for workers, leaders, and entrepreneurs. It covers different subjects such as sales, marketing, relationships, leadership, personal finance, real estate. Lots of great things that you can learn from and you can grow as a person with. So we talked a little bit about associations and why associations are so important. Let's move on to talking about the fact that rich people are willing to promote value. So people that have accomplished great things and are winning are typically willing to promote themselves and their services. If they know that they are doing a great job as a lawyer, they're going to promote their services out there to find new clients so that they can use their services to help people. That makes sense, right? And in the same vein, there are a lot of companies that make great products that people need, want, and desire. So part of what a company does to serve more people and to get more customers is to advertise. Now, we can do the same thing in our own personal lives. If we are really good at something, it's important that we share that with other people. And part of that is promoting ourselves. If you have value to give to others, then you owe it to other people to let them know that you exist, right? You shouldn't be that guy who takes all this value and all this worth and all this knowledge that you've stored up and just put it in a box and hide it in your closet under a pile of dirty laundry, right? That doesn't really help anybody, and it doesn't help you in your situation either. So by all means, if you've got some great achievement or some skill or knowledge that you are able to do, then by all means share it with other people, because they need it just like you need to share. Because when you share things, that helps you grow just as it helps them grow. So think about that for a little bit. Something else about promoting value is it's rare for somebody to go out and intentionally dig for something specifically that's yours if they didn't know that it existed in the first place, right? So just like at work, if your normal duties have one set of skills, and for whatever reason, for a special project, they're looking for a completely different set of skills that they've never asked of you, well, how will they know it exists unless you let them know, hey, I can help you out with this project because I've done that in the past, or because I'm really interested in learning how to do it and do it better, so I'd like to tackle that. By promoting yourself and promoting your value that you bring to the table, you are increasing opportunities for yourself, and you're increasing the ability that you have to serve other people. Now, think about this piece of promotion and self-promotion, right? Leaders of every level need to promote ideas, values, and systems to the people that follow them, right? So we're talking the world of business, the world of politics, the world of sports, all kinds of arenas of life. You've got leaders and you've got followers. And the leaders are the ones that have to promote something. And the way that you promote something, or the way that you bring value to your followers, is to, one, have the integrity to have your followers believe in you, and two, to be willing to sell the idea to your followers so that they can take it upon themselves and believe it as if it was their own. And that's a very powerful force. Now, things that I do to promote value is, hey, I've got this YouTube channel that I'm trying to help other people with. I make regular posts on Facebook. I find ways to connect with people in my local community and help them out. So there's different ways that you can promote your unique brand of skills and abilities. And if you've got something awesome, then by all means, go ahead and share it, because the world will be a better place if you shared your fantastic talents. Now, let's talk about our fourth topic for today, and that's, are you bigger than your problems? You may be struggling with something right now that's way over your head. And the biggest secret in life is that you really shouldn't ever run or shrink from your problems, because that just makes the problems worse. I'll give you a story from my life. My wife and I had student loans from our time in university, and for whatever reason, my wife's student loans just completely fell off of our radar in terms of our finances. And this was when we were really bad with money. So for whatever reason, when we moved from California to Maryland, we wouldn't get the bills for the student loans, and we never really thought to go look for it until we got a notification of collections. And so the student loans that were about $15K when we were still making regular payments in California, by the time they caught up with us in Maryland, we were looking at $21,000 of student loans plus interest and penalties. So that really set us back by $6,000 just because we didn't take the proactive approach toward dealing with those student loans. Yes, did we know they existed? Sure. But did we take those proactive steps to make sure that our bills and our statements from every single account that we had were coming to our new address? No, we didn't. And because of that, we had to pay the price. We ended up negotiating down some of the fees. So instead of owing $15K, instead of owing $21,000, we only owed $17,000. And we were able to continue to pay it down and consolidate it into a much lower interest rate, which helped us in the long run. But it wasn't until we decided to take responsibility for that problem that existed in our financial life and actually take it by the horns and deal with it that something good came out of it. Because honestly, it was like a sickness or an illness that was going untreated for a long period of time, and it almost came back to bite us in the rear end. Now, a good way of thinking about this whole "are you bigger than your problems" kind of issue is, think of yourself as a container. Let's say maybe you're a cup. Now, are you an 8-ounce cup? Can you only deal with 8-ounce cup kinds of problems? And if so, then anything more than 8 ounces is going to cause you to overflow. It's going to cause you to get frustrated. And you have, at that frustration point, once you get to 8 ounces, you have a decision to make. You can pour out some of your frustrations into a smaller container, right? You can completely ignore the fact that there are problems that are still flowing into you and let it overflow. Or you can decide to grow yourself and to become a bigger container. So if you were accustomed to being an 8-ounce cup, maybe you become a 12-ounce cup. And those problems that filled you up 8 ounces, well, you can contain all of that and that much more. That's kind of an interesting way of looking at it, because if you can deal with bigger and bigger problems, typically you're able to earn more and more income doing the things that you do, or you're able to take on more and more responsibility. Just like with increasing amounts of wealth, there is increasing amounts of responsibility associated with that wealth. You have to do different things in order to preserve, maintain, and grow the wealth. So you have to grow your cup and deal with bigger and bigger problems. Yes, you have to deal with things like, how do I itemize on my tax returns? because most people just take the standard deduction and they have no idea what kinds of things are tax deductible and what kinds of things aren't tax deductible. And so because you've never been exposed to those ideas, you kind of look at rich people that use deductions and you say that they're crooks, but you really don't know what they're doing on their tax forms that cause them to pay reduced rates of taxes. Because all of the tax rules that are written for a reason. And usually it's because there's some sort of service that's being provided that the government does not have to provide because of that. All to say that, hey, as you grow bigger wealth, you have to learn certain things that help you to grow, preserve, and maintain that wealth. And it helps you, as you grow to be a bigger container, you end up learning new things along the way to deal with these new problems that come to your attention. And not only are you dealing with problems, but you are finding ways to systematically deal with these problems before they happen, right? If you're learning more about itemizing deductions, for example, you're going to look at your expenses and kind of change the way you spend money to take bigger advantage of the tax rules out there, because now that you itemize, you look at money in a very different way so that you can keep more of your hard-earned money. So that's just an example of how, as you grow, you just systemically deal with problems in a different way. Now, once again, all this comes back to the idea of responsibility. If you take responsibility for your problems, if you take responsibility for growing yourself and becoming a bigger and better person, then you're able to handle bigger problems and more wealth. So how do you end up growing and being a bigger person? Well, the ways that I grow are I read a lot of books, I take courses, I find friends that are really good in certain arenas and I talk to them about things. And I've got a couple of mentors in my life that I share ideas and I kind of ask them for guidance on certain things. Now, if you're talking about legal matters or tax matters or things like that, you want to find an appropriate, competent professional. Like, you want to talk to a tax lawyer about tax issues, or maybe you want to talk to a CPA about financial guidance. There's certain things that you want to talk to professionals about, and there's certain things you want to talk to friends about, because it's a matter of are you going to trust their opinion, and are you going to get the most out of your time with them. So just to recap, we talked about four main concepts in this second part of this four-part series. And the first of the four concepts for this video is rich people tend to admire rich people, and poor people tend to resent rich people. Now, something to think about there is when we're talking about admiring the rich, we're not talking about admiring them specifically as a person, though that's a huge part of it, right? But admiring the things that they've created, the things that they have achieved, the kind of character that they possess. Those are the kinds of things that are admirable about people that have achieved great things in life. The second thing we talked about is associations. Do you associate with people that are positive? Do you associate with people that are negative? How do you adjust those associations to help you to be a better person? Are you going to associate with more negative people that are likely to bring you down? Or are you going to grow and become a positive person so that you can attract more positive people toward you? The third thing we talked about was the willingness to promote great things of value. And if you've got some awesome skill, ability, or talent, then you have an obligation to share that with other people, because it'll make the world a better place, and it also will help you out in the process if you're doing it right. And finally, the fourth thing we talked about is growing to be bigger than the problems that you're dealing with. Going back to the weightlifting kind of example, if you've got a 200-pound weight that you're looking to bench press, and you've been accustomed to only benching the bar or 45 pounds, well, chances are you're going to struggle and not be able to lift 200 pounds. However, If you're on the other end of the equation and you've been lifting 300 or more pounds and somebody asks you to deal with this 200-pound weight, well, yeah, you're going to have a much easier time dealing with it. So by taking responsibility for things that are going on in your life and problems that are happening in your life and growing and being bigger and better than the problems that are in front of you, you end up being able to be more responsible for bigger and bigger pieces of the financial and economic pie, and you're able to do more and be more with other people. So if you found this to be valuable, by all means, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you feel that other people could benefit from this, by all means, feel free to share. I've given it out freely so that anybody can have access to this. In the description down below, I'm going to leave a link to where you can get a copy of this Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, which kind of fueled this video series. And also in the description below, you can find a PDF to a checklist of 60 of the best books for workers, leaders, and entrepreneurs so that you can grow and be a bigger person and learn about all kinds of awesome things to help you in your life. If you'd like to hear more from this channel, by all means, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And remember that you're only one action away from the rest of your life. Choose your action wisely. Have a fantastic day.